So, I'm a very health conscious person. That's what this video is for when I go back and look up the video so it's easier to find. But this is health related. I do a lot of research onto the things that are in the back of my packaging. If I put anything into my body, I want to know what it is and what it's for and what it's going to do to my body. And that comes from all the drugs and awful things that were forced into my body as a child. I mean, I was held down and given injections of Thorazine. I was given double doses of the same medication. I was given extra things like Epicac as punishment. I was given an overdose at age 7 of a handful of medications. Well, I woke up never the same. My body was different right when I woke up for the rest of my life. So when you have these things happen to you, you want to make sure you limit the amount of things in your body that you don't need and have no benefits. So I read the packaging of all my stuff, and one thing you see very commonly is this warning. GMOs have been known to the state of California to cause cancer by the state law 64 or whatever. That you see a lot of this. So I've done a lot of research. I've watched like 100 videos. I've read at least 20 to 40 articles, as well as some from the Surgeon General, as well as the paperwork released from our government. And it doesn't look like all GMOs are bad. You see a lot of these nuts talk about how all GMOs are bad. Well, no, there's facts. It's a very confusing subject because there's facts to go over. There are GMOs that are bad. There are chemically produced chemicals. There are preservatives that are bad for you. There are a bunch of non-edible things they put in the food as well. There are some things that your body cannot digest that just shouldn't be in your body. But there are some GMOs that just aren't terrible for you, like a growth hormone to make the food bigger. There's been no research to show that that really causes much damage. So you have to fully research a topic. I see a lot of people talk about how certain things are bad without fully understanding what they are. And I fully understand what I'm talking about in these videos. Keep that in mind. My voice might be hard to listen to, and I might stutter, or I might, have trouble speaking sometimes or saying the words that I'm trying to say. That's due to my nervous system, but I know exactly what I'm speaking about, and trust me, this is very real. What was done to me was real, and what's happening in our society is real. The amount of drugs that are being given to other people, as well as being hidden in our food and water and being poured into our grounds and our roads and in our groundwater and in our air, just everything in general, the toxins in our society is great. And some of these toxins are choices that we're making as a society. Like I had drugs forced into my body all the way to age 20 from age 5. It started with this 1 or 2 pills in the orphanage, but then I went with a nurse who wanted to adopt me that was elderly and really just needed a pet. She wanted like a pet dog, and she adopted a child instead. And then when I was too hyper for her at age like 5 or 6, she started drugging me, started forcing sedative drugs into my body, causing damage of my body. Then she would try to twist things to fit a purpose of what she wanted me to be. She wanted me to be this hard child that's really hard and doing all these awful things when really I just won a medal. I am showing you a swimming medal that I earned, and then she's taking it away from me and telling me that I am stealing these medals, and then going around telling everybody these made up stories, as well as bringing her friends over and trying to force as much of medication, showing them, see all these pills I'm giving him, see how many pills I'm giving him. And this is at age 5 to 7. This continued, and it gets a lot worse. Like with Epicac, she was giving me extra Epicac as punishments. These things are very bad. And because of them, I have to be very careful about what I put into my body. And other people force drugs into your body sometimes too. You got to be careful of that. When you go to a doctor, that's one thing. You can accept medical care or you can refuse it. You also got to be very careful, because if the doctor has bad information, you could get hurt or get bad medical care. My family has done that to many times. They've given bad or lied to their doctors and then had me drugged or had horrible things done to me by their lies and their manipulations. They will take one small thing and blow it out of proportion, or they'll take a good thing and twist it into a bad thing, or they'll even take like the lack of education I had. Now, a little slower than other kids, but not the start. Like, for instance, I was graduating first grade just fine. They wanted to move me to the next grade, but my mother wanted me held back. Then she moved me all around the country where I missed year after year after year of classes. But when they were talking to Social Security or the doctor, you think that they explained to them that I was held back by their choice? You think that they explained to them that I would miss multiple years of schooling? You think that they explained to them that bad things were happening to me and I was being given sedative drugs that were affecting me in the mornings and at nights? Do you think they explained any of these side effects I was getting from the medication? No. They just said, Zach needs Social Security because he has a learning disability. He's going up and down and all these things. They just wanted money. They wanted to also say that I was doing all these crazy things and make up as many stories as possible to support their ideal of me. And that's a big problem. It got me hurt. It caused more problems throughout history. And it caused drugs to be forced into my body by my mother over and over to keep this narrative going. She needed me to look all sedated, passed out. She was just doing all these awful things with medications. You never give extra Epicac to a child. If your kid ODs, you bring him to the emergency room right away, and you tell them, I gave him some medications, and he passed out. He stopped. He lost the ability to talk. He needed a lot of help, and it was very clear that something really bad was going on to me that night. But they just left me on a pile of newspapers to die. I passed out. They just left me there to die. I woke up different for the rest of my life. And still to this day, they don't want to talk about it, even though my mother admitted that something happened and I was given pills that night. I got her to admit that in front of a doctor. But she called it an allergy and said not to talk about it. I also got her to admit in front of many witnesses that she gave me extra Epicac as a punishment. These are behaviors that continue, as well as she drugged me right before my adoption and many other important events. This is not normal and it affected me in many ways, and now I have to be careful about all the drugs in my body. But I wanted to explain, I see a lot of these people talking about GMOs or talking about all these things you shouldn't eat, and they're right. There are a lot of chemicals that you got to be careful of, and you should always read the back of a packaging and understand exactly what chemicals or what substances are going into your body, because even your spice rack has drugs in it. Every substance on earth, from leaves to apples to plants, are all have certain drugs or chemical compounds in them that will have effect on your body. You literally are what you eat, including pills. If you eat pills, if you eat leaves, if you eat nuts, if you eat anything, you are that. It will affect your body in certain ways. And with the nowadays, when you buy a bag of chips, you think it's just a potato, but you read the back, and there's over 100 things in it. Well, that's important to know what those 100 things are. And thinking all GMOs are bad might not be the right thinking. Do your research and understand what a GMO is, because some of them aren't that bad, while other ones might be harmful. But there's plenty of things that might be harmful in society that we're being given on a daily basis. Like, I'll give you an example. Babies with no teeth, elderly people with no teeth, or me at 31 with no teeth. Should these people be drinking tap water with fluoride? Fluoride is meant, or the government says they put it in our water to keep our teeth from decaying. But there's been known studies saying that it has side effects and could be harmful to the body. So let me ask you, if it's only good for the teeth and a person has no teeth, should they be consuming fluoride? Absolutely not. You should not be consuming any chemical or drug that it has no benefit whatsoever, especially if it can have harmful effects. So the people who are elderly or have no teeth should take the fluoride out of their water, or should not have the fluoride put there in the first place. So there's plenty of these in society you have to look out for. So definitely look out on the back of your boxes. Use Google on your phone. Don't believe the first website you see. Use like 10 or 12 different websites and compare them, or time test it. Spend 20 years on the same subject and see what information comes up. You can time test stuff too. Like, I've time tested what happened to me. I've spent 25 years figuring out what was done to me. What does that mean in psychology purposes? Like, why would somebody do this? Like, I got the piece of the puzzle, Social Security, at 19. I also dated a lot of girls who were abused in other countries. They were Cambodian, was one of them. The other one was a foster child. And I was able to listen to their stories and how they got their eyes popped out. One of them had her eye popped out, her face scarred up. She also was just totally physically abused at a real child's age, at like the ages of 1 to age 5. And then they brought her over to America to get Social Security when they got here. And they applied for Social Security disability in her name right as they got here, right when they came to this country. And that was hard to listen to. And then I spent years talking to doctors about what does that mean. I go online and speak to doctors who have medical degrees. I read lots of psychology type articles. I watch lots of psychology videos. I also spent my whole life dealing with psycho people. I've lived in tents with people with mental disorders. I've been in a tent city with people with mental disorders. I've been in shelters with people with mental disorders. My adopted mother had a mental disorder and didn't want to get it treated because she came from a different generation. But the kids at the programs that I lived with had mental disorders. I was being treated for non-existent mental disorders and mental disorders that do exist, like PTSD, anxiety, and ADHD. And then I had a neurological disorder that affected my nervous system, and that wasn't being treated at all. It was actually being covered up. So I've been spending 25 years studying psychology, neurological disorders, different types of things like PTSD, bipolar, depression, suicidal tendencies. I mean, everything from like kleptomania, like that's where somebody cannot control their stealing. It has nothing to do with addiction. That's when somebody's addicted to the rush of stealing and they don't know why they're stealing. That's when somebody steals like a bar of soap from your house or your fork from your house. That's kleptomania. I never had that, but I've actually met 3 different people that do. They have definite signs of kleptomania. They steal forks or things they don't need just to take it. And these are other people I've seen. My mother definitely had some type of mental disorder where she liked to make up stories to fit a narrative in her head. She would make up some story about somebody, like my brother, me, some stranger she just met, and then she would make up the story in her head about that person and then spread stories about them. Like me, like I won a medal. I use this as just in a light example because it's less traumatic for me. But I won a medal in the orphanage when they brought me to a swimming class, and the instructor said I did the best and gave me this little bronze medal. Put my initials. They're like dime a dozen. They're not like some real athlete. They're, it's a kid learning how to swim, and it's like my first time in water. So I was just barely keeping my head above water, most likely. But I remember the medal. And I remember the pool. I remember the medal. I remember walking in between the buildings with my hair getting cold. I remember the blonde girl's the one who gave me the medal. I remember either going back in a van or a parking garage or a building, and that's what I remember. But when I also remember carrying that medal in the orphanage for years, bringing it to all different foster homes, and then I got to my mother, my adopted mother's foster home, and I remember finding it in a Lego bin, taking it out, going into the other room to show my new parents this medal that I won, and she comes over, steals my medal from me, tells me I can't have it, tells me I must have stolen this medal, and even though it has my initials on it in somebody else's handwriting, even though it was given to me by an orphanage, she then says it must be some black kid's medal, walks away with it, and then spreads the story to everybody that I'm a thief and I'm stealing other people's medals. And that affected me in really bad ways. And this behavior continued all the way to the day she passed away. Her behaviors continued. I mean, she came back with liver failure and was drinking with 20% of her liver not working, a yellow tint to her body. She literally is sick as a dog, and she has only been home for 5 minutes. She's been in the hospital for a long time. She's supposed to be connecting with the family, but instead she's getting drunk on the couch. And I have to go to the kitchen to get my father to deal with it, but he has mental issues with denial. He can't face what his wives are doing. He doesn't like confrontation. That's his problem. I have the same problem. I don't like confrontation, but I know what the limit is. And when his wives were acting inappropriately, he didn't want to confront them. And he was stuck in some denial cloud, some fantasy cloud in the corner, getting drunk or just avoiding all of it. It's avoidance behavior. And I would have to go up to my father and say, it's not my place to deal with this, but you need to go over there and tell her she can't drink right now. And you need to take that alcohol away from her before I smash all the bottles. Did he do this? No. He allowed her to finish her drink, and then I had to leave. I don't know if she continued or not, but I had to leave after watching this. My father just couldn't put his foot down with her. He could put his foot down with me, even if I wasn't doing anything wrong, but when it came to her, absolutely not. And this affected me all the way through my life. And then, because of all the stories my mother told, because they've already done this to me, even his third wife gets in on it. Even his third wife starts making up stories or trying to believe it, but it's not as bad, because there is a little bit of evidence to what she's saying. Like, there was a very flat can of whipped cream, but she thought that that meant I must be sucking the air out of it. And she went to other people telling them, asking them a bunch of questions, and that was pushing it. Of course, you could just come to me and ask me, and I'll tell you I was eating it wrong, but that wouldn't be enough for people. It never was. Not when somebody like my mother, my adopted mother, tells everybody you're a liar for 25 years. You know, once when that happens, no matter how much you try to get help for your health or anything, you're never going to get it. Doesn't matter how much you open up to people either, they're just going to stomp on you. And that's all I ever got. If I opened up to somebody, if I told them the truth about what was going on with me, if I faced what was going on with me head on and was like, hey, this is what's going on with me, it's been going on for 15, 20 years, then they just stomp on your head. They tell you, oh no, we're going to get you drugged. We're going to try to do more damage to you instead. That's all they want. They want to make up a story that makes them hide, where they don't have to take any responsibility or feel bad for what's happening to me. And that's a natural response in psychology. It's a part of denial. It's a part of not wanting to face up to your fears or your responsibilities. I mean, I have to face this every day. I do. And I also take the time out to help other people, and I even help them face their fears and their issues. I'm very good at that. And because I have a much harder problem to solve, and I'm solving it. But I'm able to help other people with hard problems to solve, like PTSD, anxiety, addiction, their sexual urges, living quarters, getting a job, feeding themselves, work ethics, memory skills. I'm able to pass on skills and teach people some of the skills that I've learned over the years, as well as how to properly deal with it, how not to get angry and meditate, how to stay there and take the punches. It's kind of like my theory that you just stand there and take the punches and turn the other cheek. Somebody hits you, you turn the other cheek and let them hit the other cheek. They break your bones, they kill you, your soul is still clean. But this is the type of stuff that people need to figure out is going on in society. We're destroying people and we're creating psychotic people. Luckily, I became like a monk who believes in non-violence, non-confrontation, and I believe in helping other people. Never ever hurting a soul, an animal, or anybody, even if they're hurting you. That's my beliefs. But we have other people that are going through the system, coming out homicidal and crazy. I've seen people who have robbed me, hit me with bricks. I've seen people act crazy because of nothing in Walmart. I've seen just complete psychopaths do crazy things that are harming other people. I've even seen people act selfish and greedy and get other people harmed just to make a profit or make sure they don't lose any money. I've seen all different types of greed and corruption, and it's destroying and hurting lots of people. And then those people hurt more people, and then those people hurt more people, and it almost makes me want to cry. That's why I'm anti-conflict. If somebody wants to come over and rob me, all I can do is try to call the police or sit there and take it, because I can't get my legs to run away. They'll just slam me to the ground. So I just set a pick and take the beating, and hopefully I can protect my wallet enough. Hopefully I can protect my body. Then I can report the crime, and if I run into him later, he'll probably come up thinking that I want to get at him, and I'll tell him, no, I have no hurt feelings. You just need to get help. You know, if you needed money, I can, get you a job or something like that. But what you were doing is going to get somebody seriously hurt and put yourself into prison. I explain that to them sometimes afterwards. I say, you're lucky I have no interest to put you in prison. No, you don't have to worry. There's no court cases, nothing like that. Even though sometimes there might be. I still go to the police, and I still do report whatever happens. If I see a crime or somebody gets hurt, I make sure to report it so it might not happen again. But if the person comes by, getting violent with him is not going to help me or him. But explaining to him why doing that is a bad thing might help, or sometimes I just don't do anything. Sometimes I'll just say, I have no hurt feelings about what happened, and I'll just leave. I don't want to get robbed again either, so a lot of times, it's just best not to confront them. It's best just to not confront or harm other people for any reason. Even if they kill you, even if they drug you, even if they take your fingers off, even if they kidnap your child, nobody deserves to be murdered. You deserve your child back, and if it takes tasing the guy, calling the police, if the guy has to spend the rest of his life in jail, okay. But you shouldn't kill or harm anybody no matter what the reason. We need to work together as a society and start loving one another, and then the evil will leave. Where evil makes evil, good makes good. Evil is contagious. When you do bad things to other people, even if it's just talking bad, even if it's just making up stories about them, that spreads evil. But if you speak the truth and bad things happen, sometimes good things follow. That's why speaking the truth, being honest, and always trying to do good, not trying to hurt other people, not trying to get revenge, not being vindictive, is what I am. And I highly suggest everybody else does the same. Don't get back at people. Don't be vindictive, even if you get hurt, even if you lose an arm, even if somebody hits you over the head. Don't. You have no right to hit them back. You do not do that. You'll be giving up a piece of yourself. I've had people hurt me over and over and over and over. I've been abused so many times I've lost count. But I don't get back at other people because I would be just as bad as them. The reason why people are hurting me is because they're either greedy or they hurt themselves, or they can't face themselves in the mirror or what they did. And that's getting me hurt in different ways. And you know what? That's okay. Because God knows I'm standing up and doing the right thing. It shouldn't be happening, but bad things happen in life and people make bad choices. My mother and father made bad choices that got me hurt. The kids in the program made bad choices that got me hurt. I have made bad choices that got me hurt. I have done drugs and passed out before, and I've got robbed from that. I've had seizures that were nothing to do with drugs, and I've been robbed from that. I have had multiple injuries from all the way from 7 on from these seizures and from this neurological disorder. All these bad actions happen because somebody else made a decision that's harmful. But that does not mean that I should go out and get revenge. It doesn't mean that I should be harmful. No, I need to pray for strength and pray for, that God forgives them. My mother already passed away. She could be burning in hell right now, suffering herself. So I need to pray for God to forgive her. And my father, he still has a chance. I pray to the Lord that he'll wake up to his evil deeds. And I always pray to the Lord to wake me up to do his will. I always want to do God's will because that's the best thing you can ask. Just get on your knees every morning or every night or any time you get a chance and ask God not what he can do for you. Ask what you can do for God. And that's what I do every single day of my life. And it really works. It makes your soul much better. But you have to do God's work when it comes to you. And sometimes it can be financially difficult. Sometimes it can be hard. Like walking up to 2 people murdering another people is difficult. With no weapons on me, no cell phone, I could be the next guy getting murdered. But I had to do it. These things are difficult in life. If you see a bum on the side of the road and he asks you a question and you have a good answer for him, give him that answer. Not money, but if he asks you about where there's a bathroom or something, help him out. Tell him where a bathroom is. Help him get into the bathroom. If there's an elderly person that needs help with their lawn and you're walking by, help them with the lawn if you got the time. If you have an extra bedroom and you know somebody who's crippled, like I've moved people in, homeless people and crippled people into my apartments there was many people that were getting evicted, and I made a house for 3 of them. And that worked out. And I did this because I had a way to help other people. God puts things in your life that you can do good. You don't have to go out and do anything special. You can just do the good that you see every day.